Do these work again now? That shocked me.
I didn't know if they took off because I wasn't here last time. So I don't know.
Yeah, they were working last time.
Oh, sorry.
What happened last time is that thing fell.
I know. I was like,
what it was like.
well, yeah, I was like, what?
That thing fell down.
Like, what do you mean it fell? The camera fell?
No, everything underneath it, like the whole hard drive thing.
Oh, the thing. Oh, okay.
Fell Oh, okay, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna have to, you're probably gonna take till the end of the year. That's how like for
That'll be the end
It
of the
takes
year.
a long time, like, yeah, we're working on our, it takes a long time.
yeah.
All right.
That was a new project.
We're good. We get everything done in this. Is Manny back there?
I just saw him. I think he's back there in the gray shirt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Manny, are we good? Cool.
I stayed last night, but it's.
All right, it's 6:03. We're gonna call the first public hearing to order. If everybody can please stand for the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Yeah. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bean.
Present.
Mr. LaScavitch. Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Ms. McDermott.
Here.
Mr. McGinley.
Present.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Thornton.
Here.
Mr. Irvin.
Here.
Mr. Logan.
Here.
Ms. Logan.
Here.
7-11.
We have public comment on the proposed ordinance that's creating the Committee on Opioid Misuse and Addiction Abatement. Any members of the public that wish to speak? Mr. Griffith?
Yeah, thanks. Good evening, council. I wanted to talk about the ordinance that's on the agenda for discussion this evening. In the wording that on it is called the Committee on Opioid Misuse. And throughout the whole ordinance, it talks about a commission. And when you look at the charter, the wording in the charter says it should be, if it's going to be an ordinance, it has to be done as a committee or as a commission, I'm sorry. The question that I have is this, are we creating a committee or are we creating a commission? Because according to the charter, there is no provisions to create a committee by ordinance. You can only create a commission by ordinance. And I think we had this discussion when we had the County Cares Commission as well. And the difference between the two is a commission allows you to put citizens on it, and a committee allows citizens, a commission allows citizens, but a committee does not, according to our administrative code. So I just wanted to figure out whether we're actually passing an ordinance to put on to form a committee, or are we passing an ordinance to form a commission? It should be a commission because you have a citizen being put on this commission. And the commission is the citizen would be appointed by council. If it's a committee, there's no provisions in the administrative code to allow a citizen to be a voting member of a commission. So I kind of just want to make sure that the wording's correct, so we don't run into a problem along the way where somebody possibly challenges somebody voting on the opioid commission because they're not appointed properly. So something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any more slips. Anybody else that wishes to speak? Oh, Mr. Rainbow's hands up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Mark Rabo speaking. With regards to the opioid committee / commission, whichever one is going to be chosen as the title for this body that's dispersing the funds, I would like to ask, I don't know if the district attorney has made any clarification as far as how the money can be expended, or if there was any kind of clarification given by the courts on how the money can be expended for this through this commission or committee. But one of the things that was brought up at last year's budget was the fact that the courts needed a, like for the drug court needed screens, for virtual hearings for drug court. So I was wondering if that was covered in or if that expenditure would be covered under the monies for this opioid commission. as well as any kind of treatment or if there's any kind of rehabbing that would be covered under this. Those are my questions because of the fact that it was made mention during the budget hearings last year, 2022. So I was just wondering if those things would be covered under this committee/commission. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Jamie Walsh.
Yes, I just wanted to talk briefly. This is on agenda, right? I logged on late. I just got
No,
available.
This is public comment on the proposed ordinance creating the opioid committee.
Okay, I'm sorry then. I'll talk later.
Okay, thanks. Any other members of the public that wish to speak on this?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? Public hearing is adjourned. It's already 6:08, so I'm just gonna keep going. Everybody good? All right, it is 6:08. We'll call the voting session to order. We already did the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Venus.
President.
Mr. Scavage. Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Ms. McDermott.
Here.
Mr. McGinley.
Present.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Thornton.
Here.
Mr. Irvin.
Here.
Mr. Lovett.
Here.
Here.
10.
Attorney Skeen, can you announce the executive session, please?
Yes. Prior to this meeting, we had an executive session covering 2 points. 1 point was litigation. That is at the prison that we discussed how we should proceed on it. And the other was an attorney who had given us opinion a couple of years ago on certain funds and determination as to whose funds they are.
Thank you. Any deletions?
Motion to remove number 3.
Second.
Roll call on removing 3.
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yeah.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Mr. Irvin.
Yes.
Mr. Lovett.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, number 3 is removed. Can we?
Motion to adopt the agenda with the number 3 removed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? Agenda is adopted. We have public comment now on voting session agenda items only. I have 2 here. Scott, I don't know what the last name is. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Scott Seraphin. I am presently on the Airport Advisory Board. And first, I'd like to say that so far things I feel are going quite well. We've had a minor setback recently as far as 2 deletions, and at the same time we added 2, so we're still at the even mode. And my understanding is that possibility of voting for additional members. And at this time, I'd like to recommend Amy Frenshaw, who was nominated but not approved last meeting. I don't know Amy for a long period of time, but I know that she is a business owner. I witnessed her as far as in a managerial role, and is quite professional in her knowledge, and she flies all over the world in regard to her business and event planning. And at the same time, we did lose the only female on the board, so I just would highly recommend as far as the need for the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. Controller Griffin,
I'm fine.
you good?
Thank you.
Any other members of the public that wish to speak on agenda items? Mr. Rainbow?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to speak on the agenda item number 5 as the proposed question to be placed on the ballot for the Government Study Commission. I would strongly, first of all, I would hope that the council would realize that they made a very serious error earlier this year and they should have considered the government study question at the March meeting when they had the opportunity, instead of doing it by piecemeal, as myself, Controller Griffith, the district attorney, a few council members, and a few members of the public had stated back then. We would have averted this whole ordeal. Just wanted to make that point clear. As far as my question on the ballot referendum, I saw in the paper that Vice Chairman Lombardo said that he wanted to put up the question that would make the decision, that would basically say that the citizens must choose home rule and home rule alone and nothing else. I think that is forcing the citizens to just basically have no choice. And I thought we lived in a representative democracy here. So I think what should happen is let the people decide, okay? And also that I hope this time around that the commission members get the charter vetted. Once they make the necessary changes, that they send it to the state, either the local government commission or DCED, to have it vetted to make sure there's no conflicts with the law in the state constitution, as it was not done back in 2010 when it was put up to the charter was adopted. As far as the airport board, I was hoping that, Madam Chair, that the council could consider making the 44 Airport Board an authority, not an advisory board, simply because there's $6 million that was awarded or allocated, of ARPA money to the 44 Airport. So it should be an authority because of the fact that $6 million could be used to leverage for FAA grants, because an advisory board cannot use that as leverage because they're an advisory board and not an authority. Just wanted to make that clear. Maybe the Office of Law can look into that, and the manager and the members of the council who are on that authority or on that advisory board can look into that. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rabo. Jamie Walsh, his hand's up again. I'm not sure if you want to speak on these items.
Nope, I'm waiting for non-agenda. Thank you.
Non-agenda, got it. Okay. Any other members of the public that wish to speak? All right, if not, we'll move on. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed?
No.
Minutes are adopted. Number one, motion to adopt resolution to extend the lease with the United States government for property located on Route 11, Wyoming Avenue in Wyoming Borough.
Motion. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Mr. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Willoughby.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Number two, motion to adopt resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a contract with Justice Works LLC for a legal software upgrade.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
On the question, Mr. Greenwald is here, I believe. Yes, he's there. Back and back. Mr. Greenwald, we had a little bit of a discussion 2 weeks ago, and I'm sorry I miswrote a word that you thought was inappropriate. That's my fault. But going back, give us a little more history on the choice of this vendor, please.
I didn't choose the vendor.
You're making a recommendation.
Right.
Give us more information on your recommendation.
My recommendation is based on my 15 years of, actually 15 years using the system. My 10 years as a chief public defender, my 8 years as being on the board of the Public Defenders Association of Pennsylvania. I'm also on the executive of the National Association for Public Defense. I am very familiar with a lot of people who have looked into replacing a case management software system. It runs well into 6 figures. It takes well over a year and a half to implement. I would have to start basically from scratch, which I'm not sure if that's what you're asking or implying, that you want to replace this system. I really don't understand what your issue is.
My issue is, I think that, first of all, the system, you didn't tell us whether the system's working well.
System works great. I
You
think
never said
I think I did mention that.
No, you never said that, Mr. President.
If
You
the
never
system,
indicated
if
that
the
the
system
system
didn't
was-
work, I would have been investigating different systems. I think I did give a presentation which indicated, at least on the written agenda item, this is a system used by almost every single federal public defender system in the country. The federal government probably wouldn't use it if it didn't work. My experience with this company is they are very responsive. We've had add-ons to the system. We've had different customizations, I'll call them, to the system. They actually have provided all that stuff for us for free, even though the original contract calls for us to pay them on an hourly basis. They've never once charged us. In my going on 11 years as a chief public defender, we have a great relationship with this entity. I did not look into replacing the entire system because I knew that that would cost well into six figures, probably anywhere between $150,000 and $200,000, and it would cripple the office. That's my judgment. I exercise my judgment. I've been in the public defender's office for 30 years. I've used this software for 15. I never really saw a need or a reason or any type of justification to look into alternatives. I've been part of discussions for 10 years from various offices across the country. There are offices in Pennsylvania that have created their own and found out that it's a nightmare. There are offices throughout Pennsylvania that have used other software providers. Some are happy with it, some are not. We have a system already in place, and for me to basically, for the county to basically assure that it will be up and operable and safe for the next 15 years will cost us $59,000. To me, 59 is a lot less than 150.
Thank you, Attorney Greenwald. We have a motion, a second. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
I'm gonna pass.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yeah.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Willoughby?
Yes.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes, to make it unanimous.
Thank you.
Yes. Motion passes. Number 4, we're skipping 3. Motion to adopt ordinance creating a committee on opioid misuse and addiction abatement.
On the question, Mr. Skeen, is there any difference between the?
We need a motion and a second first then.
Second.
Now go.
Well, wait, hold on. I think it was,
I mean,
you were the first.
Yeah, I was-
Carl.
Is there a difference between the commission and the committee?
According to the charter, the word commission is used. If you look up the two words, and I had written to people earlier in the week about this, they mean basically the same thing. So you might be able to find one definition that says that it had, I didn't see it, but as Mr. Griffin mentioned, one says you could have citizens, the other one says you cannot. So we originally wrote it as commission, but Mr. McGinley had mentioned we always discussed it as committee, and other people here said we discussed it as committee. So there was a motion and it was changed to committee. So realistically, I don't think there's a difference in the two words in their meanings, but the charter does use the word commission instead of.
So I know in the definition section, sometimes they specify that, I don't specify it anywhere.
Those two terms are not on the charter.
My opinion is not a legal opinion. It's just my personal opinion. I think we should switch it back to commission. After reading the charter and going over it, yeah.
I really didn't give any thought to this tonight, but I agree with you, Madam Chair, because I didn't realize if what the controller was saying, if the charter language does not give authorization for citizens to sit on a committee. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is,
It's in the admin code.
the agriculture, whatever. I wouldn't want to leave it so that something could be challenged, you know, so it makes it clear, clean cut, to change it to commission. Is there any good reason in your opinion that we should not do that?
Just do it then.
Yeah, someone can make a motion. Yeah, I mean, we just changed it last time and it's kind of silly to flip flop back and forth, but we just didn't have the information last time and now we know better, so we should just,
So I'm gonna make an amendment then to change it
Yeah.
to commission.
go ahead.
Second.
Under the question, we've had committees that have had citizens. So just, somebody brought that up, Mr. Griffith brought it up, but that's not been a past practice.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to amend the word committee to commission. Can we have a roll call on the amendment?
Mr. McGinley,
No,
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Willoughby.
Yes.
Mr. Venus,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes. Yes, sorry. The amendment passes. Now can we have a roll call on the motion to adopt the ordinance with this amendment?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Willoughby.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley.
yes,
Oh.
Yes. Motion passes. Number 5, motion to introduce ordinance. It's worded incorrectly. Motion to introduce ordinance, Luzerne rescinding ordinance number. We'll have to fix that. Rescinding ordinance number 2023-12, which placed a question on November 7th, 2023 municipal election ballot to amend Article 8, Section 804 of the Luzerne County Home Rule Charter.
Second.
On the question,
Yes.
just want to make it known that everything in our power was done on time, in the right manner, we did everything the way we're supposed to. The election board, however, did not. I understand democracy takes time, but we did everything in a timely manner and we were ignored. And I think that is abhorrent and is a terrible representation of Luzerne County Council's appointed members of the election. Thank you.
Second. Yeah, second as well.
Madam Chair.
That's not-
I agree wholeheartedly to Mr. Wilovich's assessment there. Originally, I was not in favor of breaking down these issues and putting individual different questions on the ballot. As you all know, I voted at the beginning of the year to support a government study commission. However, that failed. So in light of that failure, this was the second best option, and I agree with Mr. Wilovich in that county council followed all the rules. And in light of the fact that our Office of Law, several attorneys reviewed all of that, they passed on it, said it was okay. That's what we have to go on as county council. That's what we rely on, and that's what we went with. And we did it, as he said, in a timely manner. And I think it's a sad statement on a certain state of affairs right now in the county where the population elects these 11 people to make decisions on behalf of the population of the county. And we did so. And then 5 people that are not elected by the people, they're appointed, decided they were going to trump, for lack of another word, what council decided to do. And by muddying the waters and prolonging and delaying the process and holding on to that question that we gave them in June, they held on to it for 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then revealed they're not going to move on the question. And it was clearly a dereliction of their duties, and it got all tangled up in the courts then, which is their motivation from the very beginning. I think it's a sad state of affairs that it came to that, and I think going forward, we need to address that with maybe a government study commission. Thank you.
I just want to add to that as well. I agree with what Mr. Thornton said, particularly on that last part, where he spoke about it getting tangled up in the courts and the government study commission, just to remind members of the public that this has now cost us money that it didn't have to cost us. And I agree, and not to say that I didn't support a government study commission in the first place, but again, just to go on record for the umpteenth time, I just wanted to be able to see council try to make improvements to the charter where we were able to every single day, we see where the problems are. We know where we can try to fix the problems and where we can't, and we attempted to do that. And we were essentially stonewalled. So like Mr. Thorne said, I also am happy to support this government study commission at this point.
Just very quickly, I know I was not a proponent of unfortunately, Mr. Wilovich's proposed changes, because I thought it was, a structural change in the beginning, and I, all along supported the government study commission, because I kind of figured this was going to be a mess and get into the legalese and be a court case. And it surely enough, it turned out to be that way. We didn't have to spend that type of money. If, you could have, when I proposed the original ordinance, you could have amended it and changed it to the other question, which would have allowed you to stay within the confines of the charter if that was the case. But, the 5 people that we do appoint, or the 4 that we appoint on that particular board, they are part of the representation of Luzerne County, although we, the majority of council did pass a law and an ordinance. They also have a legal responsibility to take a look at what we pass. And, unfortunately, sometimes, even though the office of law gives us an opinion, it is simply an opinion. We also have opinions too. And then when there's a difference, they obviously get litigated. And I think if it would have went further and would have went down to the Commonwealth Court, I think, unfortunately, we probably would have got whipped down there, knowing some of the judges and their strict constructionists. And like I stated to some of my colleagues here, no matter who we put there, they are a board of elections. They are afforded statutory powers and duties that apply to them. Just like when commissioners have to take a back seat for a year in other counties when they run their race. The court appoints 3 different members in those respective counties. Those individuals are allowed to do whatever they want for that 1 year as the board of elections, as dictated by law. Whether or not the commissioners agree with them, they're making that decision for that 1 year. And here it doesn't matter. We have 5 people that are on a board that are allowed under the statute to do what they need to do. They are afforded, representation from the solicitor's office. And this is just an internal food fight in a sense, but I think we could have had a better approach in the beginning.
Oh, please. Number one, Mr. Irvin and I have a totally different opinion of what we would have done at Commonwealth Court. I've had people tell me that you have very good chance of succeeding there. Number 2, I got one here.
Oh, you don't want it? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, it's right here. Number 2 is, as Mr. Thornton indicated, they're appointed people. They don't have to stand for election. They don't have to stand in front of the public. That's a big difference. It's a major difference. And I think if those people had to stand in front of the public, we would see a little bit different result. And also, who has the responsibility to frame the question? And it's the Board of Elections. The Office of Law can provide examples, recommendations, but it's the Board of Elections. And they chose not to do that. That's upsetting. That's upsetting.
Well, they could have framed 8 questions too.
They could have done anything they wanted, but they chose not to.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. McDermott, a second by Mr. Lombardo. Give a roll call, please.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
No.
Mr. Irvin,
Yes.
Mr. Willoughby.
No.
Mr. Venus.
No.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. McDermott. Yes. Mr. McGinley,
No,
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
so
Yes.
7 yes, 4 no.
Mo-
can't have 7.
6.
Sorry.
Motion passes. Number 6, motion to adopt resolution withdrawing a litigation pending in the Luzerne County Court of Common Pleas related to the ballot referendum set forth in Luzerne County Ordinance 2023-12.
Motion.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Thornton,
No.
Mr. Irvin,
Yes.
Mr. Willoughby.
No.
Mr. Venus.
No.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. McDermott. Yes. Mr. McGinley,
No.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
yes.
Motion passes. Number 7, motion to adopt resolution declaring a vacancy on the Luzerne County 44 Airport Advisory Board due to the resignation of a member.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Lovett.
Yes.
Mr. Venus,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. McDermott. Yes. Mr. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes. Motion passes. Number 8, same thing. Motion to adopt resolution accepting the declination of an appointment to the Luzerne County 44 Airport Advisory Board and declaring a vacancy.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, yes.
Roll call.
Mr. Lovett,
Yes.
Mr. Venus,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. McDermott. Yes. Mr. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes. Motion passes. Number 9, motion to adopt resolution accepting the declination of an appointment to the Luzerne County 44 Airport Advisory Board and declaring a vacancy.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Venus,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Lovett.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes. Motion passes. Number 10, nominations and appointments for the boards and commissions, Luzerne County 44 Airport Advisory Board. Lots of things happening in 44 tonight. It's one term ending 12/31/2025.
Motion.
Motion no for nominations.
All right, I think it was Ms. McDermott, you would second. All in favor? Abstentions, opposed, nominations are open.
I'll nominate Amy Frenchco. I'll second.
Motion to close nomination.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, opposed? Okay, can we just do a roll call?
We need a first and second resolution. You only have one.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh,
One nominee.
yeah, so we don't have to do a roll call on it. Okay, can we have a motion for the resolution for Amy
Motion.
Mitchell?
Second.
Roll call on that.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Mr. McDermott.
Yes.
Mr. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Lovett.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes. Motion passes. Congratulations to Amy Frenchco.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be.
Aaron
3 more
Connors,
openings.
hang tight because there are a lot more openings.
Oh, we had
unfortunately.
almost, a resignation.
Yeah, we can't declare a vacancy and appoint in the same night. That's-
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
hang in there, Aaron. Okay, number 11, motions regarding the Act 13 committee, Mr. Thornton.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I requested this just as a clarification to the motion we passed 2 weeks ago regarding the Standing Act 13 committee. I'd like to make a motion to amend the council bylaws at section 10C, numeral 1, to recognize the Act 13 committee as a standing committee for review and recommendation for use of all Act 13 monies received by Luzerne County. That's the motion.
Okay, so,
I think Mr. Urban got the second first. Roll call?
Ms. McDermott. Mr. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton,
Yes.
Mr. Urban.
Yes.
Mr. Lovett.
Yes.
Mr. Venus.
yes.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes. Motion passes. We now have public comments. I have 2 slips. Controller Griffin.
Just have a quick question for the clerk. If she could tell us what was the vote on item number 6, please? I didn't hear. Was it 5-5 or 6-4?
6-4.
It was 6-4.
5 and 6 are both 6-4.
Okay, thank you. The question that I have, so you voted on number 6 to withdraw our litigation according to the motion, but we didn't get rid of the ordinance yet. You only adopted to introduce it. So should you have Item number 5 says motion to introduce ordinance. So you got your votes to introduce it. You have to vote on that yet. You have to vote on that at the next meeting. So if you vote the other way, you're gonna have to put council back in for that litigation. Because you just introduced that ordinance today, correct?
Yes.
Right, so if you just introduced it, there hasn't been a vote on the ordinance to rescind it yet. So you've already taken the legal counsel away in item number 6 by your vote of 6-4. What if it gets shot down next week at the vote? What if the council votes in the affirmative to, or in the negative to rescind the ordinance? Now you have no legal counsel.
I think,
We thoroughly discussed this.
I think we
timeline.
could, never vote to rescind the ordinance. Right, we don't have to do that, right? To rescind the ordinance.
It would fall to the wayside because it wasn't accepted by the question.
But I mean, then you'd have to vote, put council back in, right?
No, there are two separate issues. One is litigation. We can close litigation anytime we want. And then the other one is to rescind the ordinance.
The ordinance was also only good for the general election, so that would,
The time,
You know,
the time
yeah.
passed, yeah.
that day, once that day comes, it was,
Okay, well, like I said, in item number 6, you voted to withdraw the litigation.
We did, yes.
Okay, so if you withdraw the litigation and next week they vote to adopt the ordinance, not to remove the the question.
Then at that point, we still removed litigation.
The ordinance just sits there, nothing gets done.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure we're, okay, because you just introduced it, that's clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jamie Walsh, did you want to speak?
yes.
Thank you. After the November election with the ballot paper debacle that took place, we filed a right to know. Our organization, Citizens Advisory of Pennsylvania, filed a right to know to obtain video records of where the machines were kept. And we were denied by the county to view that video. We appealed that to the Office of Open Records in Harrisburg, and they overturned that ruling by the county. So then the county decided to take us to court and stop that ruling from the OOR. And on the 14th of September, Judge Lisa Gelb ruled in our favor. Then we had the news in the paper today, and Ms. Crocomo said Monday, the administration is reviewing appeal options to possibly challenge the county court ruling. Now, my question is, they already used taxpayer money to take us to court, costing all the citizens that want to view the footage. And now, Ms. Crocomo, did they quote you correctly in the paper?
Absolutely,
They did.
absolutely.
And what is the purpose of that appeal?
I'm not going to discuss any legal strategy publicly.
Okay, so you lost twice. You lost twice, wasting taxpayers' money. And now you're gonna waste more money a third time. I think it's absolutely disgusting. That is public record. We pay for it. It is open to the public. And I don't know if county council can do anything to overrule Ms. Crocomo, but I think it's a shame and I think it's disgusting. That's all I have to say.
Any other members of the public? Mr. Rabo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In regards to the ballot or the discussion and the vote to rescind the litigation, I have one comment to make with regards to the council members who spoke that were upset at the election board. I understand why they're upset, but at the same time, I would like to say to the council members and all the council, including you, Madam Chair, that you all took an oath of office to uphold the U.S. Constitution, the Pennsylvania Constitution, and the Home Rule Charter. You all took the oath. And what happened? You thumbed your nose at the Pennsylvania Constitution in light of a charter provision that is in conflict. I'm like going through deja vu all over again when the previous council voted to remove a duly elected sitting district attorney from office because of a charter provision in defiance of the state constitution. When is council going to learn? The state constitution supersedes the charter. Article 9, section 2, last sentence. Read it. Because if you don't read it, you're all going to have this dysfunction ongoing ad nauseum. And I think that waste of taxpayers' money, as Mr. Walsh said, is disgusting, and it's also despicable because it's all based on an ego trip. And I'm disgusted also by the remarks because a bunch of appointed officials on the election board took it upon themselves to uphold the law and honor their oath. So I would hope that council members really look at the Constitution and the Home Rule Charter instead of, trying to thumb their noses and then hang their hats on the office of law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rabo. Any other members of the public that wish to speak?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? All right, the voting session is adjourned. Can we go right through? You guys need a break. Everybody good? Okay. All right, it is 6:44. We're going to call the work session to order. We already did the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. With a roll call, please.
Mr. Venus.
Present.
Mr. Scott Johnson. Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Mr. Dermott. Here. Mr. McGinley.
Present.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Terry.
Here.
Mr. Thornton.
Here.
Mr. Irvin.
Here.
Mr. Lovett.
Here.
Mr. Lovett.
Here. Any additions or deletions? Motion to adopt, anything?
Motion to adopt.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed? Agenda is adopted. We have number 1, PFM Financial Advisors presentation. Manager Kokomo, did you want to make the introduction?
They're actually not there yet. They will be here by 7.
Okay.
Wow. Kevin's not here.
What,
I'm gonna pass it much
I'm
longer.
gonna let them know you said that.
all right, well,
I agree.
we'll come back. Well, Pat.
Good evening, council. We're here again this evening in reference to discussing inmate healthcare, once again for the prison. And I just wanted to briefly, we've got representation here from WellPath to answer any questions that you may have. But I just wanted to briefly just kind of go through where we were at in regards to, we put an RFP out back. I wrote the timeline down again, just to refresh my own memory. We put an RFP out back in July 10th, 2023. Once the RFP was out, we had a pre-bid Zoom call. Now, that was on July 24th, and we had at that time approximately, I believe it was, and I don't have the list in front of me, but it was, I believe, 6 potential vendors that were on that pre-bid Zoom call. And myself, Chief Solicitor Skeen was on the call, and we answered any questions, talked about the next step in the process of the RFP would be a walkthrough. Due to the fact that our building is older, there's some different challenges there, and we wanted to make sure any vendors that were looking at putting a bid in understood what the structures look like for both of our facility buildings. So that took place on August 1st, 2023. And at that time we had, it was 4 different vendors that showed up to do the walkthrough. We conducted the walkthrough. We spoke to them prior to, went through the building, both the main facility and the minimal offender unit. And then at that point in time, went back up to our conference room, answered any questions. And then from that point forward, received probably from different vendors different questions that were fielded through purchasing's office. We answered those questions. RFP closes on August 25th. Closed bid is open, and there's one bidder that put a proposal in, and that was WellPath. And that's where we're at today. And so we've got representation from WellPath. Mr. Dahl is here. And if you have any questions for him, I'll turn it over to him at this point.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Be happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
Council members, any questions?
Well, my question would be, is there any added services to the contractor proposal?
Not specifically to what was required in the RFP, but shortly before the RFP was introduced, we proposed and it was accepted that we would add staffing and services to provide medication-assisted treatment for people suffering from opioid use disorders. So I make that distinction.
That was a new service that came about
earlier this year, prior to the
But
RFP,
it's
but only
included in
short.
the
Time. It is included in the RFP, yes, sir.
What was the cost involved with that particular service?
Bear with me for a moment. The annual cost of adding the MET services was $452,251.
Thank you.
Okay. Quick question. And this is probably a question for county managers, Mr. Wilbur. I think I heard recently, maybe it was on one of the calls I was on, that the state now requires or mandates that county prisons in the state provide this type of health care or drug treatment program. In other words, it's not an option, as I foolishly thought a year and a half ago when I came here on council. It's not an option where we can just say, the heck with it. We're not going to have any medical services like that. It's a lot of money and we don't want to spend it. That's not an option, is it? It's required. What's that?
And the Attorney General's office, it's the same thing.
The AG's office. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for everybody in the room. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you both.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the budget reports.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I wanted to go through the budget reports that we've included this time. I did change things a little bit to try to make them more meaningful, but I want to let everyone know that if there's information that you think you would like to see, and it would be more beneficial for you to help you just manage what's going on, I'm happy to provide that. The treasurer's report is the same report that you've been getting all along. So it's basically showing the amount of money that we have at this point. There's $235 million that we have in the accounts that we're controlling, 90 million of which is ARPA funds, approximately 90. So that's that report. The budget report that I've included, again, is the same report that you're used to seeing. Just wanted to highlight a couple things. This is again a budget of the general funds. So we have a budget of $161 million approximately. At this point in time, we're about 83% collected on our revenue numbers, and we've spent about 52% of our expenses. So I mean, we're in good shape at this point. I think I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has regarding those. The new report that I've included is a different accounts payable report, because the report that you were getting before really wasn't telling you anything regarding the total amount that we're paying to vendors. So I thought it would be beneficial if you could see kind of like, where all the money is being spent. And then if you have any questions regarding specific line items or vendors that we're paying for those line items, we're happy to send you that information also. Another point that I want to make, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the other points that I want to make sure I make is to let you know that our ARPA interest to this up to date so far is $2.9 million. So we've earned that much in interest so far. We've been working with all of the banks that we have accounts at to try to increase the interest rate. We've called all of them. Some of them have been more receptive than others. Some have increased the interest rate just by us calling. So we're appreciative of that. We had a meeting with PNC Bank because of course we have a lot of our funds there, including the general fund. And we're working with them on trying to restructure all of that, both the fee schedule as well as the amount of interest that we can earn on those accounts. And the controller's office is obviously helping us out with that too, to help us identify specific accounts that we really need to focus on. We're obviously working very diligently on the budget. We are planning on printing Friday, if everything goes as expected. We will be providing, you know, a budget that shows 0% tax increase. But we've been working very, again, diligently with all of the division heads to make sure that that is the case. We will be distributing that budget on October 10th. That is the plan. That is the night of the council meeting, so we'll have the binders here for you to take with you. We did also I sent a tentative schedule out today. We are going to schedule the 2 public hearings for 10/24 and 11/14, unless anyone has any objections to those dates. That is our plan at this point. And I just wanted to, you know, say that I look forward to working with all of you. I hope that, you know, if anyone has a question regarding, you know, any of the information that I've provided, or anything that you would like to see, you know, please reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or again, any suggestions as far as information that you feel that you haven't received and you would like to receive. Happy to work with you on that too. Does anyone have questions for me now?
Mr. Thornton.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And first I want to congratulate you on your appointment to your position.
Thank you.
With the county. Good, best of luck. And I don't know if this is really a question for you, but on page 79 of our agenda on the work session, everybody can just turn to that. There's a listing of the many checking accounts that we have in the county. And as everyone probably knows by now, I have an ongoing interest in trying to improve the conditions of our roads and bridges in the county. And so what stood out for me, and I just actually started looking into it today, were these 6 checking accounts about, let's see, nine lines down, starting with fund number 200, and there's 201, 202, 205, 206, and 207. Those 6 accounts total up about $3 million in balance that we hold there. One is the liquid fuels account. The next one's the Act 44 bridge account. The next is the aid system to roads and bridges. Then there's the Act 13 bridge fund, which is separate from the Act 13 Marcellus Shale Fund. And then lastly, the Act 89 bridge fund, which, you know, I'm looking at all those and I'm happy because I'm thinking maybe they could be used, you know, for the ongoing rehabilitation or construction of our bridges and roads. My questions, and I wrote this in an earlier email today, this morning, and this may be more appropriate for Manager Crockabo or Mr. Kurtz, maybe, who's more familiar with those accounts and the expenditures. I had questions as follows. What are the origins of all of these balances? Are they state earmarks? Are they grants, or our county taxpayer money? And that I would like to know, you know, for each one of those accounts, so I can make notes. Number 2, are each of these accounts funded automatically and annually? Number 3, are these funds currently encumbered, and if so, for what projects? Which I said in the email, I know it was late notice this morning. Don't have to answer that tonight, but maybe by the next meeting. Number 4, do we risk losing future grants if we do not expend the current funds by a predetermined date for each one of these accounts? Sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. And lastly, are all of the expenditures from these accounts listed in our annual budget and approved by council? So I don't know who could answer those questions.
I think I can answer some of your questions, and then as far as the specific projects, you know, Ray can certainly chime in on some of those.
Thank you.
So as far as the origin of the balances, they are all state allocations that we received. However, even though they're state allocations, Fund 205 and 206 specifically are received from the state, but the money's drawn from the natural gas and oil companies in relation to their fracking. So it's a little bit more complicated, but basically they're all state funds. As far as your question on, are each of these accounts funded automatically and annually? Yes, they are. They are included in the budget again that you'll see for 2024 also. I mean, they're budgeted each and every year. The funds are encumbered. They're currently encumbered, and there is a project list, which, I mean, again, if you have specific questions on the project, I think Greg can chime in on that. All of the projects were approved either within the capital plan or by county council. But Greg, do you want to?
Yeah, the capital plan includes all the projects that would be utilized for these funds. So annually, that goes through the process where you guys approve capital, and that's one of the pages within that.
And the other question here that I had, do we ever risk losing any of these monies if we don't use them?
So there's, okay. Okay. So the only one that there is, I wouldn't say a risk of losing, but the only one that has a requirement that we spend 50% by the end of December would be the liquid fuels. And that is planned to be spent by the end of December, according to our conversations with Larry, and
Yep.
then you can confirm that.
So probably going back maybe 10 years or so, I understand, there was a risk of that where there was some left on the table still. And but PennDOT had made us aware of the fact that it could be lost, and so it was resolved and nothing was lost. But if you spend at least 50%, whatever is remaining, you can carry into the following year. If you spend less than 50%, then you stand to lose it all, what's left.
Thank you. And regarding account 205 and 206, they're both Act 13 accounts. The one's labeled the bridge fund has quite a bit in it, almost $1.2 million, as opposed to the Marcellus Shale Fund right below it. It's my understanding that the Marcellus Shale Fund has many eligible uses you can use the money for. The fact that bridge fund is named the bridge fund, what are the restrictions on that? We can only use that for bridges in the county?
Yes.
It's still Marcellus Shale
Yeah.
money also. They're actually both Marcellus Shale funds. So one is the bridge fund, one is the shale fund, but again.
But the bridge fund money specifically comes from the state telling us that we have to use it for repair or replacement of bridges, right?
Correct.
Okay, that I wasn't sure. All right. Well, that answers all my questions. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Council, any other questions? All right, thank you both. All right, next discussion regarding ordinance amending the 2023 fiscal year budget for Luzerne County for operations.
This has to do with the signaling in the bridge in Kingston. We need to add another $50,000 to the original estimate because there are some PennDOT requirements that need to be met. This is for the design. PennDOT will pay for the actual construction of the city.
Council, any questions?
Yes, what is the local assistance and tribal consistency fund?
This is another ARPA type fund, although it's not the same ARPA monies that were used for all the projects that council approved. Federal money.
Annually, do we get a payment, distribution, whatever from that local
No.
assistance? No?
No,
You have to apply for it, in other words?
no, it was because we have federal properties in the
Right.
county.
But you still have to apply for money if you wish to use it, or?
No, we do not apply for it,
Okay,
to the best of my knowledge.
thank you.
Does that money come in all the time?
No.
This one? Oh, it's ARPA one time, okay.
Okay, thank you. Number 5, discussion regarding request for $372,375.80 for 2023 MAP program. And then I don't know if you just want to swing right into number 6, it's the $450,000 for the 2024 MAP program.
Well, this money actually would be money that's from the opioid settlement. I believe that the monies were advanced through drug and alcohol to pay for some of these services. And we would like to recoup that money with, for drug and alcohol.
Am I correct in saying, Mr. Carpenter, it appears that $450,000 would cover the new program that WellPath is?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
No, go ahead, Jim.
Ryan Hogan wasn't able to make it tonight, I guess, so in reference to the first agenda item in regards to the 370, I'm sorry, that is the monies that were required we started this the MAT program, Medically Assisted Treatment Program, in February. And remember now, 2023 budget did not include any monies for the MAT program. So this is a program that WellPath and we partnered together to make sure we could get it off the ground. And so that 370,000+ was the monies that were utilized or will be utilized until the end of 2023. So the idea is it wasn't in our budget. As we know, budgets are very challenging. Corrections budget is very challenging. So it is one of the remediation uses provided and recommended by the opioid fund commission. And so that's what that money is. The 370 plus, and then the 450. Yes, as you said, Mr. McGinley, that would include the MAP program for 2024.
Thank you.
Just wanted to clear that up.
Mr. Wilbur, I'm also on the Zoom call if you would like to.
Oh, perfect. Well, excellent.
Mr. Perry had a
But
question.
Mr. Perry had a question. Go ahead.
I just want to jump back on the WellPath. I should have asked it before.
Okay.
Are you happy with the WellPath contract you have? Since you're the expert, you deal with it all the time.
Great question. I appreciate that. Yes. The long and the short of it is yes. One of the things I would say about WellPath, the WellPath, as I remember, I think we've discussed a couple of times that we've talked about this subject. The WellPath we have today is not representative of some of the challenge that we had earlier. We've got a strong staffing on the WellPath side, both medically, mental health wise. Matter of fact, the health service administrator is here tonight, James Jules. Great working relationship. Our staff, again, we have a tremendous correction staff as well, but they have worked seamlessly with WellPath in regards to, obviously, our inmate population continues to change. So our main issues that we're dealing with are the very things, the substance use disorder, the mental health. And so they've been great partners with custody in order to make sure that we're doing the best we can, not only to limit the litigation liability issues, but also to make sure the inmates are safe, they're taken care of, and custody remains, in a position where corrections is also in a good position. And so the short and the long answer is yes, we are.
So going forward, we are in a better position now than we were in the past.
Undoubtedly.
Good to hear that. Hopefully next year.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Brian was there. He was there. And then did he
Isn't
just,
like MAT supposed to be methadone too?
I don't know who that is.
not right.
No, well.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so PFM, I don't believe is here yet, so we'll move on to the.
15 minutes out. You can call them,
Let's have them call.
Tell them to come to the next meeting.
Oh, are they on their way?
Yeah, they're about 10 to 15 minutes out.
Are they from here?
No.
But
they were here for another meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were in the area for another meeting.
We're making it.
Yeah, have them call. Have them call, but we'll go, can we talk about 7 quickly? It's the discussion regarding the budget meeting schedule. Guys, you have it in front of you. It's incorrect, okay? October 30th, that day is correct, but it's Monday, so it's the 30th, but it's a Monday, and same thing for the 6th, it says Wednesday, it's a Monday, but the actual numerical dates are correct, just the days that are listed on the side.
It's Halloween.
Can't miss Halloween. We did.
Yeah.
We had a lot of candy.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see your costume.
And Valentine's.
But this is the schedule, we worked on, Ms. Roselle, Manager Kokomo, we all looked it over.
Just
Ms.
curious,
Lawrence typed it up for us, if you want to take a look at it and just, you don't have to.
just curious, when's Thanksgiving? What date is that? Thursday, what?
I can check.
That's a very important date to me.
Yeah, you're not missing that, huh?
The 23rd.
23rd?
Mhm.
I gotta put that on here. We're not reading it.
No,
No.
we're not meeting.
No, not that week either.
Thursday, right?
Are we getting the budget books? Did they see the?
The 10th.
That'll be
Yeah.
good.
So we'll have them.
Yeah, they'll distribute them the early in the day on the 10th typically, and then it'll be introduced. And then you'll notice the public hearings are in red. Also, council notice, we are starting F5 for several of the budget work sessions, just so it's a little bit earlier. But guys, take a look at these, check your schedules, make sure it works for everyone. If anybody has any questions or notices anything that we didn't notice, please send in an email before the next meeting. Okay, so now we'll just wait for PFM to call us.
Were they notified to try to call us?
Yeah, they were letting them know.
Any public comment?
No, we're waiting for a presentation.
Oh, but isn't there a public comment?
There'll be public
Yeah.
comment at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay, after.
Yeah.
We put the PowerPoint up on the screen. So, can we put PowerPoint up on the screen?
I think Mr. Ramirez looks like he's could you get the PowerPoint on the screen for us?
We want the power. Yeah.
I don't know who has it.
Oh, man, I'll go right through it.
Come on, right back.
Mr. Ramirez, if you need the PowerPoint, let us know, but it should be posted on the agenda that's online. Okay, all right, thank you. If you can't find it, let me know.
It's in the parking lot.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, in England, they don't have parking.
Right. So,
We were traveling. So we were just in a car. Every time we go somewhere. My wife was the GPS, British man's voice.
Yeah.
It's like very sexy. So I tried to talk to the British accent, she doesn't think it's sexy at all.
Who said that?
But then, every time.
They're posted online, but I actually.
But every time we go somewhere, you say, turn right into the car park. Car park. I said, after 10 times, I'm like, "There's a car park." She goes, "That's what they call it."
Can you send
Now I'm
Mr.
watching the
Ramirez
show.
the PowerPoint for PFM?
With British people on the show, they always say, go down to the car park. They don't use the word parking lot at all. They say car park.
Everybody follows.
You're gonna get it.
What?
You're gonna get it.
What do you mean?
driving me nuts. I go, where's the car park? You better watch your back.
What, the AARP?
It's where you park the car, so I could see the car park.
You can be a member.
No.
Right. We had the first dog park in Union County.
Chris, I'm gonna have you in your 40s by the time this is done. Everybody's
Dog park. What are you driving the parkway?
That's
Never got an answer.
It's like, how is that possible?
This is a discussion of the debt. Is that what this is? County debt.
I thought they were in the parking lot.
We should do it here.
You do that at work.
They'll do,
Huh? Yeah, public comment at work.
Public comment? Yeah, we always
Yeah,
have
that
public
public comment is not
comment.
necessary. We do not need to have a public comment. That's just for, that's
But-
for fun.
We put it into, I think, the bylaws.
Guys, well, I told you 7:15. I held up mine.
Did.
Next one. She has no idea.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't know if it worked through that. I was worried.
Works at that place too, you see.
There's no parking spot. There's no parking.
There's a parking spot somewhere.
I know.
It's on the map.
Where?
Greg, what is our one spot?
I was looking at the controller spot. That's
It's
where.
supposed to be fast. It's open. All good.
I know there's like a lot of spots.
They just tell you to roll up by the door.
Here, it's
Yeah.
you know. That's what I do. I work with no one.
Yeah. Leanne, if you want to take a spot of mine, it'd be nice.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
I did that one day.
Yeah, I quit. I'm nervous.
Leanne, you can take one of my spots, because I'll just park for a couple.
Also park right next to the building.
It's gonna start. It's gonna be a bunch of flat tire.
Just let me know where you want the line.
Okay.
Go home. Go home.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
They're just the property.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's too big. They can't make it a file.
Oh, wow.
We should have music, like on the bass.
We're gonna sing it.
There was probably an old- there was probably- You can head right to the podium.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, take, you can take it. Council, 2 seconds quickly. Guys, we're getting started. If everybody could please be respectful. 2 things before we hand it over. On the parking lot. These are the repository properties that Ms. Large is large and too big to send, so it's on a USB.
And they'll be on the next work session agenda,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yeah, they're the repository
Okay.
copies. You guys saw them. When we ask for the maps and all that kind of stuff, it just gets too big. Huh? All right, you can get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Well, good evening. Thank you for having me here this evening. Again, Scott Shear with PFM Financial Advisors. I did email around a copy. Does everyone have a copy of this? If not, I have a hard copy if anybody needs. Okay. Well, feel free to stop me at any point in time if you have any questions, but I just planned on kind of flipping through this relatively quickly. This is basically our annual update that we do before the county, kind of every fall in preparation for budget season. And so it's kind of like a dual purpose. It's to just get you reacclimated, excuse me, with the county's debt, but then also to kind of set the stage for the possibility of a tax and revenue anticipation note for the 2024 calendar year as well. So we kind of usually talk a little bit about your existing debt and then talk a little bit about the potential need for the, what we call a TRAN, to cover operating expenses until tax revenues come in next year. And again, feel free to stop if you have any questions. Starting on, well, we just go to page 2 real quickly. Just again, as far as a couple of the main points that I wanted to hit on, just a real brief general market update, review of the existing debt and a little bit of the tax anticipation note for next year, and a quick refresher on the county's credit rating. So if we turn to page 3, so we look at interest rates 2 different ways. We look at the short-term interest rates, which is what I think you all really care about when it comes time for investing the county's funds. We're in actually a great environment for that right now. We also look at interest rates when it comes to, say, borrowing long-term money for capital needs. I'm not saying you have any of that right now, but we look at both short-term rates as well as long-term rates. So on page 3, this gives you a brief illustration of the short-term interest rates, meaning what's going to impact your investment rates and also what could impact the borrowing rate for short-term financing like a TRAN. Your TRANs typically in the past have been a 6-month duration. So again, it's going to kind of closely correlate to this index here. And so we're looking at the chart of the Fed funds target rate. And you can see in the box since 2019, there were some drops in the Fed funds rate. And then, most recently, as of here about a month or so ago, more increases of the Fed funds rate that we're now at about a 5.5%. There's additional indications that we may see that go up even a little bit more yet this year or early next year. But again, this kind of just goes back about 20 years or so to the, right around 2000 to show you kind of where that has been over time. The goal of this is the Fed uses the Fed funds rate to try to tame inflation. Whether or not it works is TBD, but that's the spirit of the Fed funds target rate. And again, you can kind of see where that is. So that means basically from the county's perspective, if you're investing any of your operating, that now you should be, and there's always exceptions to every rule, but you should be somewhere north of 4%, maybe even north of 5% in your investment rates that you're getting again on your investment. So that's good. You like that interest income coming in from some of your operating funds as your tax revenues come in before you spend them. Page 4 is the long-term interest rate environment. And so this is an index of a 10-year municipal index. And basically it shows going back to the early 90s that right now we're a little bit lower or better than historical averages going back to, like I said, the early 90s. So short-term interest rate environment is high, but in a lot of ways, it's a good thing because now you're actually able to earn some decent interest expense on it. Long-term rates are a little, around historical averages, a little bit better than historical averages. So that may influence any possibility to refinance any of your existing debt. Page 5 just gives you a quick update on the county's outstanding debt of the county and then some lease rental debt. And so it's showing the 2019 notes of about 31 million, and then the 17Bs and 17As, and then the 15As, so totaling about $139 million, and plus some of the lease rental debt that was done in 2017 as well. So overall, total direct debt's about 159 million. And we have the one footnote there for the credits and exclusions. One of the financings reflects a 50% credit based on principal paid by the community college. So again, just gives you kind of an update overall of your debt. And then the next page, page 6, puts that in different kind of graphs, where on kind of the left side where it says Exhibit A, this is your net debt service. And so the bars represent the amount that's being paid on an annual basis in debt service going out through the year. So it's basically level for a while. Then you see that drop off in the last year. Exhibit B on the right-hand side is your borrowing capacity. So legally, this was even as of last year, last time we did this, it was about 630 million is actually your legal capacity. You're obviously well below that. Which that obviously influences your credit rating as well, which you have a very good credit rating of an A. So again, that's your legal limit, not necessarily saying that's what you should go to, but that's what you are allowed to do. 100% of your debt is fixed rate debt, nothing is variable. And again, you can kind of see the average rates of your debt, and Exhibit D, overall very low rates that the county has outstanding. So your debt portfolio is being managed very well. I would say from a debt retirement standpoint, you're kind of one of the counties that is more ahead in that, meaning your debt is basically done in about 7 years or so. So that's another good thing. It's a credit positive that the rating agency looks at. So you do have a very rapid amortization. Your payments may be a little bit higher right now in the meantime, but your debt expires in a very short amount of time. And then page 7 basically just puts that chart form in Exhibit A that I just went over into more numbers. So this is what we use more for internal purposes, what your budget office may use when it comes time for budgeting, where each one of those columns represents the annual debt service for each one of the outstanding bond issues or loans that the county has outstanding. So again, you go all the way over to column 12, that your net debt service is about 26 million and change or so on an annual basis, and then it drops off considerably in 2030 to $6 million, and then you're out of debt at that point in time. We do show down in sort of down kind of the bottom half of that page where it says call date. That's the date that we may be able to refinance some of the county's existing debt. Whether or not the market allows for it, meaning rates are going to be lower, that's to be determined. But you see some of your debt has call dates towards the back half of 2025 and 2027. So there's really nothing to refinance right now on a tax exempt basis, but again, maybe in 2025 or 2027, we might be able to refinance some of this debt to achieve some savings like we have done in the past. And then the county does on page 8 still have what's called a basis swap outstanding. So we did terminate basically most of the swap portfolio of the county over the years to get you to a much more conservative debt profile. The basis swap is still outstanding. There's just some cash flows that are exchanged on a periodic basis between the county and these different banks. The county a long time ago received some money up front for that. These basis swaps soon mature. Basically, they expire when your debt expires. So you don't have that many more years remaining on it. If you wanted to terminate those at your own free will, you could. It's going to cost the county a couple $100,000 to do that. And again, we look at that every year. Actually, we look at it many times throughout the year. To us, it just doesn't make any sense to terminate it now. Just kind of let things continue to go as they have been. We monitor it. It's part of your audit. We supply some different calculations for your auditor to go into that. But again, just an update that you do still have those basis swaps outstanding. But the kind of the balance of that is going down dramatically over time. And then on page 9, we get to the tax and revenue anticipation note topic. So on the right-hand side, this shows the amount that the county has done almost going back about 10 years. And you see we're in a pretty good trend where it's continually been going down. So that's a sign of the financial health of the county. That's a good thing. In some preliminary discussions we've had potentially for next year, it looks like that amount can continue to go down again. And the point of that, so typically we always talk about borrowing if you need various capital, right? That's the long-term borrowing. But there is this kind of borrowing that a lot of cities, counties, townships, local governments do, and that's the cash flow borrowing called this TRAN that basically allows you to get this influx of money, say the first week of January, and it basically gets you through the time period until your tax receipts start to come in. The county over the years has been very diligent, and we've all pretty much always done 6-month notes. So basically it expires or matures on June 30th of each year. So it's a very quick payback. And it's done for a reason, because you get those tax revenues in and you're able to then pay it off early. And again, it's worked out well for the county over the years. From a timeline perspective, if you do want to proceed, tonight we're just having an initial discussion, just informational purposes only. During the month of October, we'll be working with your administration on size of the TRAN, whether it's 12 million, 13 million, 11 million. And then probably later in October, distribute the RFP, request for proposal like we've done in the past to a lot of the local and regional banks. And then we come back before you in November for approval of whatever the best proposal looks like. And then we would close sometime probably the first week of January is when you have your funds. So again, no action needed at all tonight on the TRANs, more just to kind of let you know that we'll be back later this fall with more information and getting the RFP out and bringing those proposals back to you all for your consideration. And then lastly is the credit rating component of this. So again, great news that the county received earlier this year, where upgraded to an S&P A. Shows on page 11 where the rating has been over the years. It was most recently an A-, so that was one notch of an upgrade to the S&P A. Prior to that, for a couple of years, it was a BBB-, and prior to that, we were down in non-investment grade rating. And so the little box on the right-hand side shows the different kind of categories. And again, the county is in the single A category, and then basically the only categories better is the AAA category and then the AA category. So overall, again, a very good rating for the county. And from the last report, just shows ways that the county could improve the rating, improvement in economy, growing and maintaining reserves. What could weaken the credit rating is adopting structurally imbalanced budgets. Reserves weaken materially, and other unexpectedly issued debt for say other reasons. So again, overall, things look very good. And then on the last page, just a quote from the last rating report. So we were very pleased with how things turned out on that. And again, thanks for the administration for kind of helping us through that. At that time, a lot of information and discussions were had to get that. But I think the quote at the, on page 12 says a lot. We've upgraded Luzerne County and removed the rating cap due to the county's sustained structural balance, demonstrated willingness to raise taxes and fees from structural operating balance, largely due to rising fixed costs. So again, very positive note from the credit rating agency. And that bodes well then when it comes time to whether it's borrowing for the TRAN or borrowing or being able to refinance existing debt, having that better credit rating does allow for a better interest rate. So those were the items that I think I wanted to cover. Again, no action, just informational purposes only. And just to let you know, we'll be back more in the fall with more discussions on the TRAN.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. First of all, I think back in 2012, what was our?
Tim, your mic's off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt like that.
What was our total debt service? Debt plus interest?
Back about a decade or so ago.
12 years ago.
It was
466.
Yeah.
Is our current
total debt?
Yeah.
About 160 million is your total principal.
Was that principal? Was that last?
Total principal and interest now is about well, your total net debt service is about 159 million. Yep.
That's principal.
That's principal and I'm sorry, that is principal. Total interest is 191 million. And principal, yep. 191
I think it's really.
It's a huge decrease.
Yep.
Yes.
I think the councils in the past, starting in 2012, all the way up, have really done a great job. That was one of the things that you heard from the public when home rule came in. Our debt service,
And what he indicated, there were several budgets that were not structurally balanced. As by the charter, we have to have a budget that is balanced. And I think you've seen the result of that. And as a result, as John might indicated, we had no credit rating. We had to go through all the steps to get there. And finally, we're at a credit rating, which
Probably very few communities in the area would have that kind of a rating.
Yeah, it's a great rating. Yep, absolutely great rating.
a lot of thanks to previous councils, and we hope to continue with that trend going forward.
For sure, thanks, Mr.
And Madam
McGinley.
Chair, I just want to add real quick, one of the most important prized assets we have in this county is our credit rating. That's every personal homeowner at home. With a high credit rating, you're positioned well in case you ever had to emergency borrow money. You get the best terms, the best lowest rates out there. So the one thing that does damage, like you wrote in there, that damage or destroys a credit rating is unexpected sudden borrowing. So I just want to say for the group here, let's be very cautious for the next couple of years that we don't borrow any more money.
Yeah. Continue the good fiscal discipline like the county has, and things look very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have public comment. Any members of the public that wish to speak? Mr. Dombrowski?
I wouldn't say this today unless Mr. Walsh was here, but I want council to know, because of the picture he's painting of his organization, the holier than thou approach, Citizens Advisory of Pennsylvania. And less than 24 hours ago, I want you to know what happened, because I was
Mr.
there.
Dombrowski, this is
It relates to
address
what,
council.
it relates to
Yep,
what.
no members of the public. Don't call. any
Okay,
members of
all
the
right.
public. You
So
can
I
address
won't call, I'll
council.
just tell you what happened. I won't use anybody's name. So I was at that meeting, the Citizen Advisory Group. I was invited to the meeting, attacked at the meeting, and asked to leave, all within a span of 15 minutes before the meeting even started. And I just want to give you the details as to how it happened. I get there and I'm in the front row, and then 3 or 4 of them leave the room, the administrators from this group, out to the side where the deck is. They go out there for private conversations, so no one can hear them. They come back in, they say, Mr. Dombrowski's here, he's running for county council, we'd like to ask him some questions. So I'm figuring that's okay, and I'll come up to the podium, and I said, that's, I'm pretty much okay with that, And then they had pre-planned questions. This was all orchestrated. They had one person that had 5 of them, and another person had maybe 10 or 15. And they bring up the one with 5, which are my quotes, apparently they took from Facebook from a few years ago, and they said to me to read them. One of the assistant administrators to this group. And I said, I'm not going to read them because you want me to. I said, I have freedom of speech. I can read them or I can not read them, whatever I choose. So I chose not to read them. Then they started on, they're trying to paint a picture of me and my competitors of anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment, which is not true at all. But that's essentially what the second person was trying to paint this picture. So what I'm saying is this particular group has 2 sides to it. That's what I'm saying without using any names. They have 2 sides. They have the good side that apparently is trying to help children in school districts generally. That's their main purpose. But they have a bad side that I saw firsthand. So in 15 minutes, they did this intentionally before the meeting started. So it wouldn't be, it's not on the minutes because it was all done before the meeting started. The administrator to ask Mr. Dombrowski to come up. So it was done intentionally to keep that from being on the minutes. So that's what I saw when in 15 minutes I was invited to it specifically with 480 other people, and maybe 12 to 30 people showed up. So the few people that showed up, then he attacks one of the people that's running for county council. It was the most disgraceful, most disgusting, least professional thing I've seen in my lifetime. That's what I want to say. It's related to what you're talking about with the request to see these OOR.
Thank you.
I mean, I can't just let him bash me, and I'm not gonna mention his name, I'll just respond to
So
what.
I'm gonna say something really quickly. You can rebuttal. this is non-agenda items, but it's still items that are in council's jurisdiction. So since Mr. Dombrowski did address Mr. Walsh directly before I could stop it, we'll give him 3 minutes, but moving forward, it still has to be council related.
It was related because it's related.
Your
to
time was up,
request
Mr.
for
Dombrowski.
OOR
Go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
Permission.
Your time was up. Your time was up. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
I have 400 people on an email list. We launched our membership in August because he doesn't know when you start a 501c3, you have to start a membership. We finally got an opportunity to do that with our integration of our CRM software and our website, which took several months to get done. So the people that were there last night were offered to come. We can't, as a 501c3, we have to be bipartisan. So the reason we did it before we started the meeting, any Democrat or Republican can come and talk at any time they want. We just can't do it during our normal business meeting. So there were some people that had some questions for him, and they brought it to my attention when he walked in the door. This was not pre-planned. This was, there was no premeditation here. He was asked questions because people have a concern that he's running as a Republican and he's radical. And he proved that last night with his own words. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dombrowski. Any other members of the public? Controller Griffith?
Briefly, first of all, the budget and finance director, interim director, alluded to the fact that we're working on the interest rates. Kudos to the administration and the budget and finance administration to do that. Provided the list from the controller's office to them. They did a proactive approach and has worked diligently to get our interest rates up where they need to be to get more money into the county, which is what we're all about here. We need to get as much money as we can from the other revenue streams other than taxpayers. And I just want to take a moment just to praise those folks for stepping up and getting the job done. It took them a week to actually address the issue. And that goes to teamwork in the county, which I said all along. That's how we're going to make the county move forward, is by teamwork and collaboration and cooperation. And if we can continue in that stride, there'll be no stopping this county as to where we can go and what we'll do in the future. To Mr. PFM's report tonight, very, very impressed with where we have come, as Mr. McGinley just alluded to. As a drafter of the Home Rule Charter and as somebody who was involved in that process and seeing where we've come over the years, kudos to the council that's held the line and not borrowed money. Yes, it's mandated by the charter. We can't spend money, or we have to fund the debt service. That's great. That's true. But it doesn't say anything that we can't borrow money. So council's kudos is the fact that you held the line and didn't borrow money. And I applaud the council for that and the administration, because it's a two-way street. Administration does it as well. Lastly, or second to last thing is, I find it just interesting that all the good news that we just heard from Mr. Scheer from PFM regarding the wonderful things that are happening in the county debt and paying off the debt service early and all those things. We have a member of a county council candidate that comes up here and does not say anything good about that. All he does is stand up and talk about something totally different. This is really important stuff. And anybody who's running for council that doesn't recognize the forward process and progress that this county's made probably needs to be considered. And lastly, I want to just congratulate Kendra for her book. Very, very nice. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. No. Any other members of the public that are here? All right, if not, we have Mr. Raybo on the Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to echo what Mr. McGinley and Controller Griffith said about the debt service of the county. As one of the members of the public who has been attending meetings since the inception of Home Rule, I would like to congratulate and thank the council, previous councils and this council for holding the line on the spending, and also to pay down the debt service, even though it's in the Home Rule Charter that the debt must be paid before any other expenditure. And that's one of the saving graces of Home Rule. And I actually, like I said, I'm going to be abundantly clear, as I was on March, when the government study question was placed up for consideration. I would like to say I'm completely agnostic as far as If the people want home rule, if they want to fix home rule, I stand with them in that venture. If they want to, if there's a need to go to another forum, then I'm with the people on that one. But I am with the people. I am not for my own agenda or anything like that. I think that the county is doing a good job, and I just want to make it also clear that it's not the form of government that matters. It's the people that's in the government that are elected and appointed that drive the ship. So I just want to make that clear, that it has, the structure of the government is not the end all be all. It's the people who serve that make the difference. And I have one question, Madam Chair, for Mr. Shearer. As far as you know, and members of council know, the 55 million LSA infrastructure loan is a capital fund. So I would like to ask if you could ask Mr. Shearer, how would it impact on any borrowing if the county decided to move forward with that borrowing? How would that impact the credit rating moving forward as a capital borrowing expenditure? That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rebo. Any other members of the public that wish to speak?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Abstentions, opposed, meetings adjourned. Have a good night, guys.
Just bad.
I